Hello and welcome to B2B Fintech Marketing Day 2023. So happy to have you all with us, and I'm stoked to have this afternoon with all great speakers and so on here. So my name is Jacob Löwenbrand. I'm Managing Director of Bright Vision, growth agency based in Sweden, but more on that in a second. But I'm trying to host this event this afternoon together with my colleague.
Exactly. Hi, everyone. I'm Emma, and I'll be sidekicking this event this afternoon. And as Jacob said, we're very thrilled to kick this off and to have you all join us for an afternoon filled of fintech marketing insights and strategies. And we're going to wait just a couple of minutes for everyone to log on and join. So in the meantime, we figured it could be fun to just ask all of you, where are you tuning in from? For those of you who are online. So you could just write in the chat that you see on the right-hand side, and then all the answers will be popping up there one by one. Do we have any other people in Sweden? We have one from the UK, near London. Denmark represent, Malmö, Copenhagen, Netherlands, Madrid.
Maastricht.
Yeah, Lisbon.
Awesome. We have a multinational public here today. Great to see.
But yeah, thank you for sharing. Let's move on to the next question, which is even more related to the big topic of today, fintech. So what are your biggest challenges in B2B fintech marketing these days?
Trickier question, maybe.
Can be tricky. Top of mind.
So many things going on in fintech.
The recession.
Yeah.
Very understandable. Reach target audience and complex value proposition. All right. Got one answer, Philippines from the previous. Reach the right converting audience as well as lead partners being more restrictive. All right, but yeah, interesting to see, and we will definitely be learning more about how to combat these challenges in recession time and so on from the speaking sessions that we're going to have today. But Jacob, what can the audience expect from today's event?
Yeah, that's a good question. And you can expect a lot of content, a lot of insights. We have 3 hours packed with great content. We have 6 speakers, as you probably have read about. More about them in a second here. And they will share a lot of interesting things, and we will have a good dynamic on different topics around fintech marketing, and expansion and things like that. And you will have the ability to ask questions and so on. So yeah, I really hope that will be a great afternoon. We know there are so many trends and things going on. And here we have the speakers. We have Huang Pham, Lina Curtis, Anna Herman, Simon Birskau, Koen van der Hooydonk, and Dr. Christine Bailey. So this is a really strong lineup we have gathered for this afternoon. So I'm hoping everybody will stay until the end because there's so much to learn. And hopefully we can learn from the audience as well. So please be interactive and so forth if you have questions. And yeah, so I'm really stoked about that. But before we dive into today's topics and speakers, just a few words about Bright Vision and who we are, who are arranging this. So we are a growth agency for B2B tech companies, which of course includes a lot of fintech companies that works in the B2B tech space. And we are doing a lot of things. I started a company 23 years ago, and we have over the year developed the company offerings from strategic marketing, a single service offering, where we pretty much help tech companies find their beachhead market and the segmentation strategy and things like that on a more strategic. That's how I started out in the mid-90s. to now be more or less a more full funnels organization where we can help clients with all kind of things, all the way from the early awareness stages all the way to upselling, cross-selling, and helping you to drive deals in the pipeline, things like that. And we both have outbound as well as inbound services. We do have an office in Sweden, but we're to 97% a remote-based organization. We're 110 employees, and we're spread out all over the Western Europe, and also have quite a few people working from South Africa, the Asia, and South America as well, and so forth. So we're a quite global company, but our focus on our clients are Europe, so to say. So in the countries here with the blob, you can find Bright Vision representatives working in the local market there. So and we are working with all the way up to the big tech and IT and software companies, all the way down to the smallest startups and the crazy creative new entrepreneurs coming out of school and so on and so forth, and helping them to drive the adoption of tech innovations and find new clients to innovate. And we think that is so important, and that is one of the driving forces behind Bright Vision. We truly are tech optimists. We think we can apply technology to a lot of the world's most urgent and important problems, and we really think tech companies, and fintech companies not the least, have an important role to play here for the best of humanity and so forth. And if you're interested in driving growth for your tech company or so, if you're listening in and are wrestling with those kind of expansion or acquisition questions around clients and so forth, you can always reach out to me or others, because we do have a lot of fintech experience in the team that's working a lot in that area with driving growth, client acquisition, and things like that. And a really good way to do that is to sign up for a free consultation where you will meet one of our B2B tech experts, tech marketing experts, that can give you some kind of audit where we can give feedback on your strategy, or whatever you want to talk about, your content strategy or go-to-market strategy, or how is your outbound SDR team built up and so forth. And and if you want to scale in new countries and don't want to go for full-time employees and so on, starting out with Bright Vision as an SDR team that have ability to start out quite small in new countries to test your ground, that is a great way as well to do it. But enough about Bright Vision, more about the B2B Fintech Marketing Day quiz, Emma.
Yes. All right. So before we let the first speaker onto the virtual stage, we're going to do a little quiz where you in the audience have the chance to win either the prize of a Eva Solo coffee thermos or a designer Swedish candle that could be nice for Christmas. So the first question is, so be ready to type here. What year is considered the birth of modern fintech, marked by the launch of the first online payment systems? We got a number A quite quickly there from Louise. And yes, it is the correct answer. 1998, as many of you probably know, is seen as a key year in modern fintech's birth. PayPal arrived and all that. So yeah, congrats to Louise. Question number 2. Which city is often referred to as the leading global fintech hub in Europe? And we got 2 B's there already, from Hoang and from Louise. Very nice. All right, last but not least. This one is more up for debate, but imagine you're stranded on a deserted island and can only have one marketing tool with you. Which one would you choose? Let's see what your survival picks would be. And for this one, any answers is correct. It's open for interpretation. We got a knife. Actually a phone. social media. All right. I think Thomas was the right one, the first one there. If we consider that a marketing tool, I'm not sure, but otherwise it would be Louise. But yeah, thank you for submitting your answers, and congratulations to the winners. I will be reaching out to you after the event. But with that said, I think it's time to kick this event off, Jacob.
Yes, I'm happy to do that. And can just say before I present the first speaker is that I attended to the Slush conference last week in Helsinki. Maybe a lot of you who are attending here was there as well, but that was fantastic. And when I heard so many great presentations, especially in the fintech area, with a lot of interesting scale-ups and startups going on there. And it's so fantastic to see that we have so interesting speakers and startups and vetted entrepreneurs and marketeers here at our FinTech Day as well. So I think maybe we're not as good as Slush, but not far away. And our first speaker is an expert in startups and scale-ups in the fintech area. So it's very, very great to be able to say that we have Huang Pham with us, who's the head of marketing at Monite. Huang will lead us. He has done a lot of stuff before as well. He had been instrumental in expanding in his previous company, Molly, who he joined at number 37 to over 800 employees and secured funding and stuff like that. So have a rich background in marketing and a lot of interesting stuff there. So we will be talking about early days of marketing in B2B Fintech, how to go from scale up via startup and things like that. So with that, it's so great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And we will actually have more like a live pod / fireside chat here today. So I'm really happy to have that with you. And I would love to start out just with I gave you so short introduction here. So can you tell a little bit about who you are and what do you do in these days, Huang?
My name is Huang. I'm based in Amsterdam. I haven't always been in fintech all my career. I jumped between a couple of different industries, but my longest stints were in fintech, especially with Molly. Back in the I think it was 2013, where I was all about growth hacking, I also jumped on that bandwagon. So I've been doing growth, generally speaking, but now moved more towards execution in marketing. So everything on the marketing motion. But at Molly, it was growth. It was like I helped here and there. Not everything was related to marketing. There was a lot of data. Like the data was my red line. But I help with customer service. How can we optimize that with data, or on the sales side as well? But eventually, I think marketing is what I like best, where I can be most creative.
Yeah, and now are you on Monite? Can you just give us the 2-line sentence positioning statement here, what you do and what you're up to there?
Yeah. So what we do with Monite is we build infrastructure for all different types of platforms to launch a fintech product. And the fintech product that we actually have is accounts receivable and accounts payable. When I first started, I didn't really know what those terms meant, but the way I understand it now is that we can help your company offer an invoicing product or a bill payments product very quickly, right? So instead of you having to build all that, you can just embed and white label our infrastructure, and then you can launch a new product in one go.
Exciting, so interesting. And now you're a team about 40 people or so in the company, or somewhere around?
Yeah, the whole company is around 40. Yeah, between 25 and 50. Like there are a lot of contractors and agencies who work with us. Yeah,
exciting. And we're going to talk a bit about startups versus scale ups and some of the experiences you have done when transitioning and helped companies in all these kind of stages here. especially from a fintech perspective. So I know that you typically say in a startup, just do it. In a scale up, build a killer team and so forth. Can you give us a little bit of your background and approach to how to build a team and when to start doing that and so forth, and what you have learned over the years in that sense?
Yeah. Well, so I've always worked for startups at the start. Like Molly as well was a startup when I joined. And what I noticed was that it was really about being proactive and like diving into the weeds, even if you're not an expert. Like I remember when I just got out of school and suddenly I had to do PR for an industry that I didn't know. But at Molly as well, it was about understanding where we were and then figuring out, okay, if what is my best idea on how we can reach a certain target. For us, that was we spent 10K per month on Google Ads when I joined, and then I was like, okay, why aren't we spending more? And the reason why we weren't spending more was we didn't know how much money it brought in. Right, there was no data connected to it. So I started to dive into that and actually execute on Google Ads. But it was the first time I actually looked into Google Ads. Um, and that's kind of that's what I like. But eventually when Molly started scaling, like and some of my mentors have told me that you don't scale by doing more of the same thing because your time is limited as well, right? So when you really step into scaling up companies, it's key to build a team that can do all of the work where you can kind of steer and direct, right? And I think that's kind of it was for me as well to transition from an individual contributor, especially when you're young and you're into the weeds, towards more of a leadership role where you're like, okay, the targets have like 10x, but you can't 10x yourself, right? So the only way to do it is by building a really good team, and it's still something that I'm learning. But now at least I know that I need to do that. Whereas before I was like, okay, I can just work 10 times harder. But yeah, that's a fallacy I fell into.
Yeah. And is there any sign, or is it more a funding problem when you start, expanding your team and what competencies you bring on?
I would say like there's no certain moment in time of when you scale. One way of thinking is the moment you know kind of the blueprint, or you have the recipe and you're ready to let go that specific domain or channel, then you can hire, because that means that, okay, if I would hire, the math is really simple. You would X growth, right? Another reason to hire is if you are uncertain, right? If you don't know what you can get out of it, and that's where you could hire an agency like yours, right? What I do like to do is to find a way where you can learn fastest, like depending on who you are. Me, it's doing things myself and kind of going through a boot camp to like really ramp up. And then with that, I would know what great looks like. And then I can hire the right person. Or sometimes what I also do is if it's too difficult for me to learn from scratch, I work with an agency, but then I really work closely together and ask them a lot of questions to understand the fundamentals. And that way also learn, and then you can transition towards, okay, I know enough to hire like someone internally, or you scale up with that specific agency, but then you can actually steer a little bit better. So those are ways of how I try to scale the team.
Awesome. Great insights there. And another area there in, I know you are really good at operations and trying to scale things and what we have been into there when you scale your team, for example. But when scaling a team, you also need to scale your process and things like that. So in a startup way, why do you think it's so crucial to keep solutions simple, and how does that change when the transitioning to scale up starts, and how should you navigate in that complexity?
Yeah. Well, so the reason why I think like a solution or like a project should be really simple for startups is because you don't have budget. I think for both scale-ups and startups, you don't have budget. There's always this issue, but especially with startups, you don't have the momentum, you don't have the amount of traffic or the volumes to drive very significant growth, right? So at the start, it's all about just starting, just trying it out. And therefore, you don't need to have like a very sleek setup, right? All the tools, they don't need to be connected. I use Excel and Google Sheets a lot, right? I just download things in Excel and I create a graph, and then here, this is the graph. You don't need this automated reporting that sends you an email every day just to show how well you're doing, because the answer that you're looking for is the same, whether you have it automated or not. So at the start, it's about figuring out what type of answers you need so you can start steering. The moment you know what answers and what data points you need to look at to steer, that's when you can think about, okay, it's taking me too much time. It's 1 hour to build this report every week. Okay, now let's build something more sleek and something automated. And this is just one example of reporting, but the same thing could account for attribution modeling. Like, you don't need to have this marketing mix model or this multi-touch attribution model, because whether you have a more accurate model of 5 or 10% accurate, it wouldn't change your decision, right? Or it shouldn't change your decision, because the decision is binary. And at the start, all you need is to make binary decisions as fast as possible, especially for a startup, because you're still trying to figure out what works.
Yeah. So I know a little bit, going back to the data, you're emphasizing analyzing the data and understand what your decision framework is and so forth. And I know you have a saying, that you prefer data-driven mindset instead of A/B testing, which is quite popular method as well. So what do you mean with that?
Yeah, well, I think that the biggest reason why I came up with, like, I hate A/B testing, or I don't do it, a lot of times I just don't, is because there's a negative connotation with A/B testing, that you need to test everything. That's one. Second thing is that A/B testing adds value. It doesn't necessarily add value, because the examples that people usually come up with A/B testing is testing headlines, or testing titles, or testing colors, right? So these are very these are experiments that potentially have a very, very low chance of making a big change, right? So that's why I don't do it. And usually for a startup, you don't have this volume and money to actually do these tests, because there's no time, right? So what I prefer to do is just work in a very data-driven, with a very data-driven mindset. And this you could apply across all borders, right? And the way I do it is by first measuring baseline, right? Very simple. And then I just try something new that I think will increase baseline. And what I aim for is I aim for something new that has as high alpha as possible. What I mean with that is, I want to find this intervention where I'm the most confident that it will change the way the baseline is as much as possible. As an example, changing from targeting the Netherlands towards targeting the UK, it's a very big change, right? So the bigger the change, the higher the alpha. Now, of course, you need to stay in your realm, and for us, it's marketing, right? So I try to look up for an experiment that has highest alpha, stay in the realm, but that I can actually execute fast. Right? If it's something that is a full project and it needs alignment across all stakeholders, then it's too much, right? It's too much of an investment to eventually get this. And what I do is I just execute it, and then I monitor. And after monitoring, I review whether it was a good intervention or not. But if it is, I try to scale up and see whether you're still reaching those conversion levels, or you're still reaching the results that you're looking for. And if I don't double down, then I just change, right? So this is a different way of doing marketing than A/B testing. With A/B testing, you need to in advance know, okay, this is A and this is B, and oftentimes you don't have enough audience to show two different results. But what you do have is you have data to execute, but then look back. I think that's something that most people either forget, or it's difficult, or it's just boring. Like to look back, it's much more fun to move on to the next problem, to the next project.
Oh, well said. Well said. Very interesting and a good take on that. And I can appreciate that. And that brings us into another area that, you touched a little bit upon it there with expansion and should we go to UK or not, and things like that. And that's budgets, being a marketeer, marketing manager in a scale up or startup, even worse, there's always constraints from a money perspective. How should you spend your money? Can you share some of your insights and learnings in that area?
Yeah. Right. So with budget, like that growth pain, it's safe, right? Whether you're in a startup or in a scale up, you always have budget problems. I think the difference between a startup and a scale up is that with startup, there is no clarity because you don't have that product market fit, or you don't know, you have too little data to kind of guess what would work or not, right? So your goal with that budget is to figure out either a channel, or you need to figure out some type of traction. And traction is a combination of the right audience. I saw there was an example, like a question in the audience at the start, right? Right audience, the right USP, or the way you actually tell that story, and the delivery of it, right? So which channel or the timing of it. So the combination of that, that's what you want to try to figure out at the start. For scale-ups, it's a bit different because when you're a scale-up, you should have figured out some of it, right? So a scale-up would have scaled one channel at least to a maximum, right? But eventually, when you finalize scaling, or like you're in the end parts of the S curve where diminishing returns, what you want to do is you want to find new channels, or you want to find channels that actually synergize. So whatever channel that works for you works a little bit better. So the budget should all be about, okay, how can I make sure that you stretch the budget and the outcome of the budget a little bit more. That's like the difference in how I see budget. If you ask me the question how I look at budget, it's similar to what I talked about with data driven. It's just one data point that I look at and see whether the data points, whether budget and the cost per lead or cost per whatever target you're looking for, whether that changes. So it is one of the things that I monitor, and then I try to make a bet. Okay, if I spend 1K extra here, or I spend 10K extra here, would I get 10K extra worth of outcome or not?
Yeah, great, very interesting. And I suppose that's how you also deal with choice of channels, or where to send out your message and things like that.
Yeah. I think choice of channels, messaging, like all that. It's like there are rule of thumbs, but there is no exact formula of, okay, if it's this industry or this size, you need to look at this channel. Or I would say it's like some rule of thumbs that I have is that if the ACV, average contract value, is super high, the answer of channel is mostly always likely sales, right? Of course, there are exceptions, right? I've heard about stories where with a job board, this was an example of Peter Levels, who built this remote job board, and he just added a Stripe checkout page on his website, and someone could buy 10 vacancies for 50K, and people would just do it, like 50K amount of contract without any sales, right? So there are these exceptions, but the rule of thumb says that, okay, usually you need the person sitting in between just to explain and get that trust. But yeah, there are many more. Like if you have specific questions, I can give my take.
Yeah, and we will soon let the audience in here. So please write questions in the chat if you have some for Huang. And just last comment there from my side. I know that you are, every fintech company these days are looking for great talent and so on. And I mean, fintech is not an old industry. There is not a surplus of experienced people, so to say, no matter what role you're looking for. But you think industry knowledge is a little bit overrated. That's not how you hire your people when you build your team, isn't it?
Depends. Like sometimes it is. Like me myself, when I started at Molly, I wasn't in fintech. Like I've been at other tech industries, hotels, like fashion, influencer marketing, influencers, like very different industries. So for a lot of marketing strategy, like resources that I look for, I don't mind if they are not from fintech, because the strategy doesn't change whether it's fintech or health tech, right? It doesn't. Advertisement also doesn't change. Like the way you structure your advertising like platform, it doesn't change, right? So for that reason, I wouldn't. Where I do value like industry knowledge a lot is when we talk about content, right? It's very easy, and I've learned this the hard way, is that it's very easy to create content that's just not there, right? It's saying from a high level, it says the right things because you can just read it and okay, it sounds logical. But for everyone who's into the weeds and is just like day to day working with that type of issue, when it's off by a little bit because it just doesn't make sense, then you lose all the trust, right? So for content, it's a high value add to have someone within the industry because they just understand the challenges, the pains, the product, and the nuances of that, and much better, right? And they would be able to figure out that whatever they write is bullshit or not, right? Some other areas where I think industry really plays a role is PR, right? You need the network to have your stories being shared, or partnerships, right? So there are a couple of areas where I do look for it within the industry, but if it's not necessary, it's budget friendlier to open up the pool, and sometimes this just means that I look on Upwork, right? And I hire, I look for people on Upwork, or I work with an agency who looks for offshore talent, right? Where there are more options.
Great. Awesome. So fantastic to hear. So we have a few questions here. And one here is, in a startup versus a scale up, what part of the marketing funnel do you think is most effective to focus on?
The lowest part of the funnel.
Quick answer.
So yeah, to elaborate, like what you want is you want results, right? Also, Alan, with the second question you had, you want to show results to your leaders. If you can show that you gained, you doubled the traffic, but you didn't increase revenue or you didn't increase opportunities for sales, then it didn't matter, right? But if you increased revenue or like as low as possible on the funnel, if you doubled that, but the traffic didn't double, that meant you did something right? You either increased quality or you got a channel, like you executed on a channel that didn't reflect in traffic because it was just, for example, LinkedIn forms, right? Where you don't send people to your landing page, which means that you didn't get traffic, but you did get leads from it, right? So those type of tactics is what I would try to look for.
Yeah, awesome. Another question here from Vivek Shankar is, you mentioned the goal in the startup stage is to make binary decisions as quickly as possible. How do you apply this to your content, measuring what's working fast, etc.?
Yeah, so content is a bit of a different game, right? It's difficult to measure, which means that you don't want to build this whole model where you know exactly what content works. The way I would look at content is to look for metric, like I call it proxy metrics. So metrics that give you a qualitative feel of whether the content just hits or not. And these metrics would be people just share, like everything that's related to organic. If that happens, you're doing something well. If you go viral with content, you did well, right? If you did not, that means that you need to change some stuff. And that the binary decision here is upfront know that, okay, if I create these type of content on LinkedIn, do I want to only do listicles or not? Or do I want to create video and then have that video cut up in snippets and then transcribe it and have that into a LinkedIn post? Like, you want to come up with these ideas where you see other people made it work, you try it for yourself, right? And the binary decision is, okay, am I going to do this? Yes or no, right? And the answer yes or no is based on, is it worth the investment? Are you getting some type of traction? Are people engaging? Yes or no? Like proxy metrics that are related to that content, not revenue. Like it's impossible to connect revenue to that specific content piece.
Well, that's a great answer as well. Wow, half an hour went really fast, Huang. So thank you so much for joining us and answering all these questions, and great insights. And we hope you will really, continue to kick ass in Monite, and we're gonna, keep track of you and your content and so forth. So hopefully we can see how it goes in another event or webinar or podcast in the future. But as of now, thank you so much for your time, Huang, and all the best.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, if there are any questions, you can just hit me up on LinkedIn. I can answer questions there.
Yes, please. You can post your LinkedIn if you want to.
Do.
Okay, great. Awesome. What a start with Huang Pham. Now on to our next speaker, who, so we have a high tempo here. No pauses between the speakers. So we're so thrilled to introduce Lima Curtis. Lima is a seasoned B2B SaaS fintech professional with over 13 years of experience in spearheading high-growth companies, and has also founded the Copenhagen Female Leaders in Fintech Marketing. Mm-hmm. And today she will be sharing her extensive knowledge in the session, Beyond Borders, Navigating Global Expansion and Legacy Collaborations. Well, with that very short introduction, welcome to the virtual stage, Lima.
Thank you so much, and I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, so are we. So fantastic. So yeah, take it away, and we'll catch up in 20 minutes with.
Yeah, okay. So today I'm going to be talking about the dual challenge of how to navigate global expansion at the same time as dealing with legacy collaborations. And by that, I mean traditional banks. So before we get started, I'm just going to give a short intro to me. Definitely look better in the photos, so sorry for catfishing you all. But yeah, so right now I work as the head of marketing for Monthio. That's a fast-growing, fast scale-up based in Denmark. We work with the leading banks in the Nordics to optimize the lending process. And next year we're going to be going into Spain, Germany, Netherlands, France, and one more, not to be named because I can't remember. Yeah, I also headed the marketing team at the fastest growing company in Denmark. And then before that, I was also at the fastest growing tech company in the UK. So 2 fintechs and 1 regular tech company. So we are going to kick off with the challenges, aka, but why isn't scaling a fintech easy? So let's look at the challenges. So the first thing we're going to talk about is related to tackling global expansion. So a big one here is regulatory hurdles. Different regions have varying financial regulations, and this poses a significant challenge for fintechs aiming to expand globally. Navigating these complexities requires careful planning and expertise. Obviously, I'm hoping that you have somebody in compliance and business intelligence, but of course, there's also an element of market intelligence. For example, right now in Europe, we can see that, especially when it comes to lending, which I'm working in at the moment, there's blanket EU regulations, but then each individual country has specific ones. So, we have to position our company or service, or you need to position your company, solution, product, depending on the regulatory requirements in each one. Also important to note is that regulatory implementation isn't always as fast as you think it may be. So again, when you're positioning, you might want to use it in some countries as something your customers need to be aware of. In other countries, from the first mention of it to actual implementation could be 5 years. The next thing we're going to talk about as a hurdle is cultural adaptation. So again, adapting your products and services, or at least how you communicate them, to diverse cultural norms and preferences, again, can be challenging. You really need to understand local nuances. At my former company, we worked with a lot of banks in the Middle East and Northern Africa, but then also within Europe. And everything could be different here. It's a completely different meeting culture. So again, much longer nurturing process. So you need to be able to support that with the relevant sales and marketing materials. Don't run campaigns that offend, key one, but also be aware of local holidays, specifically not running campaigns during that period, or running campaigns during that period, depending on what you're trying to do. But also when you're working with local agencies, you need to be prepared about when they're off and when they are not. You also have market competition. So when you're expanding into new markets, there's going to be a slightly different mixture of competitors in each market. You get a huge amount of benefit from being a fast mover and being well established. So there's a good market fit. You're the first company that people are going to turn to when you have established the need for that product or solution. But then, of course, there's a different aspect as well. So if the market is actually filled with your competitors or competitive solutions, then it is also a suggestion that what you're offering is relevant, and also that there is a clear need for that product. You can also use this opportunity to benchmark your product to something that people already know. So again, at my last company, we offered B2B cross-border payments for a lot of legacy banks, traditional banks, as an alternative to SWIFT or SEPA. We would say, we're the TransferWise of B2B payments. Obviously, that's before TransferWise changed to Wise, but I guess we would update that slightly today if I was still there. You also need to be aware of operational scalability. So rapid growth means the need for scalable operations. So you need to be effectively able to scale your marketing team and marketing resources depending on the growth of your company. And then finally, technical integration, which I'm sure you're all aware of, is the biggest burden to any kind of customer acquisition or conversion. This is, of course, a business consideration within the product team as well, but it's also a huge issue when it comes to account-based marketing. You can spend so much time supporting the acquisition of certain customers, or even upselling to certain customers. And if you don't challenge at the beginning, like, is this going to work? Then you can waste a lot of time and resources for a prospect company to have their CTO shut it down. Okay, there's only a couple of slides here, so forgive, you still have lots of time. Then we have the challenges of working with legacy banks or traditional banks. Huge cultural divide. And when I say that, I mean towards the culture of the company. So, fintech companies, as you know, we'd like to work, or at least like to think we do, with a lot of agility and innovation. So legacy banks may have more of a traditional and bureaucratic culture. So need to be aware of that. Again, regulatory differences. Before we talked about within the markets, but here we're going to talk about the segments. So legacy banks are subject to established regulatory frameworks, and that actually can differ from the same service, but in a different time they've come to market. So again, we can see this in Europe right now. Traditional banks or established players within the lending sphere are subject to certain regulations, and then newer providers such as BNPL providers in many countries actually don't fall under the same regulations, despite in theory them both offering consumer loans. Of course, the regulations will change, but governments are much slower than fintechs. Risk aversion. So legacy banks tend to be risk averse. Whilst fintechs, we quite like risk taking, mostly towards how we operate as a business rather than anything else. But, we do need to align our risk appetites and find a balance. And then there is the speed of decision making. Fintechs, especially if you're a startup, you want that revenue coming through your system pretty quickly, or at least a good projection of revenue if you're looking for investors. But, a legacy bank can have a 2-year sales cycle from, first touch point to actually revenue coming to your company. This is actually super important when it comes to planning your marketing and communications effectively, because, it can take a long time. So, what are the solutions? How do we go and scale a fintech globally? Yes. Okay, so to enter a new region, market research and localization is critical. You need to understand the local landscape, consumer behaviors, and regulatory nuances. I would always recommend a local partnership with marketing agencies and other providers. They know the ground, they can leverage their networks and just expedite market entry, and provide valuable insights. Tailor your marketing strategies to address local preferences and cultural sensitivities. It's crucial and critical that your campaigns are personalized and compelling. I mean, they should be anyway, but just at a local level as well. And then one I think is really important is to really use your local customer service or customer support. Doesn't directly fall under marketing, but you should be working super closely with them to get the best understanding of the key questions you're getting from the market. You can then tailor your local communications or how you position. At my previous company, we were asked a lot of questions. One of them, what's your experience in the market? I mean, obviously, but when we start getting it again and again and again, we realize we need to provide specific local case studies to the region, even if they're not in the same segment, actually. Just being able to say, we've done this in country X is more important than being able to say, we help this bank with this business challenge. Okay. Continuing on to international expansion and relating to branding. So how do we build a global brand whilst maintaining local relevance? So there's this overarching consistency that needs to be met. So, elements that need to be recognized, logos, colors, core messaging, all of which transcend cultural differences. But then, of course, there's localized content creation, content that's relevant to each market. This is a website, social media posts, and promotional materials. And then finally, critically, prepare to pivot. I mean, you cannot control everything that's going to happen in a market. Inflation, political shifts, sanctions, regulatory change, multiple things. And the more markets you're in, the harder it is to deal with. you need to be prepared for some of your campaigns to just fail or at least be halted depending on what is happening in the markets you are in. Okay, next slide. How do we overcome the challenges of working with traditional banks? So, first of all, UX. Banks, their biggest priority is customer retention, and one of the most important ways to do this is improving the user experience. So we need to focus on communicating this in sales material with case studies, key quotes and stats in relation to decreased churn and positive customer feedback. We talked before about banks not being risk takers, so it's critical that we showcase compliance. It's difficult to get their trust, especially when, large banks have multiple decision makers. So you need to highlight your strengths like FSA regulations, ISO accreditation. Sorry, I've forgotten how to speak. Accreditations, and strong international logos from your partners and customers. I think it's important to note here that the international logos are important for trust in compliance, whereas we talked before about local logos, and that's important for business in specific markets. So have both. Make decision making easy. This is a bit buzzword bingo, but sales and marketing always used to be about helping the sales team sell. And now we're looking at how to make it easier for the buyers to buy. So simplify all decision making for both potential customers and your partners by providing clear and concise information with targeted marketing campaigns. I think, if you're getting a lot of leads from your website, invest in CRO, for example. Conclusion. I raced through that. Yes, so craft a compelling brand narrative that communicates the journey from local solution to global leader. It's important you also don't just emphasize your product, your solution, your market fit, but also your growth. Showcase how long you're going to be around for. Implementing agile branding strategies. We talked about before the importance of being able to adapt quickly and drive thought leadership. It's super important to establish expertise in your field. Again, it's important to talk about how much you know about the industry or the problem or the challenges, not how much you know about your product. You can come to that right at the end when you need to sweet talk the developers who are going to be implementing it. Right now, you need to be positioning yourself as the person who knows the most, or the company that knows the most about the challenges you're facing. And finally, conclude with a strong marketing message that emphasizes adaptability as a core brand value. So we need to talk about how we can adapt to meet the needs. So almost there, but final point is never forget internal communication and marketing. And I sometimes believe, it's not as critical as external, but it's super important. And by this, I mean consistently reminding the company why you're important, why your team's important, what you've done, what you're going to do. It can be very easy for marketing to be overshadowed by sales, especially if they're driving a lot of revenue. So continue doing that. It's critical to raise awareness of what you do to inspire better collaboration between marketing and sales and customer success. But critically, it's also super important for strategic resource allocation. If the leadership team has the best understanding of why you're doing what you're doing and its contribution to the business, that will help when you need more budget and resources to drive maximum impact across new biz, customer retention, and overall company objectives. So I think that was 20 minutes exactly. So if you have any questions, please fire them to me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lima. That was interesting and good points you shared there. And we have a question here directly. And when you talked about, how to work with legacy banks, I was thinking the exact same question as Julia Gomez. How do you make it through the doors into traditional legacy banks when you want to knock on their door and, present your fintech solution, which you obviously have done several times successfully. So what's the trick?
I mean, that's a great question, especially when it's B2B. I mean, you really need to understand what triggers what, right? We are not going to have a Danske Bank or BNP Googling how to make my lending process better, come onto Monthio, add to cart. That's never going to happen, right? So what we need to do is we partner with, or in overall, what you need to do is partner with sort of established players who can drive influence in the market. So maybe consultants who are former CEOs or COOs of banks. We found, and I found at my previous company, events are key, like going to the right high level of events. So it could be Money 2020, it could be the Nordic Banking Forum, and also a bit like yourselves, hosting like specific roundtables or hosting your own events as well. And kind of, establishing this thought leadership. We work closely with the FSA, so they also kind of promote us as a go-to business. And leverage network. I mean, network, meetings, dinners, roundtables, any way you can get your foot in the door.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Well, and good ideas there. So another question here from, let's take this from Peter Clark. Got any favorite innovative marketing tactics or tools that you think are really changing the game in fintech?
I mean, I don't want to say AI because everyone says AI, but AI.
Yeah. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? How do you apply AI in what areas and so forth?
I mean, I think it's been critical as well. If you're a startup or a scale up, you have limited resources in your marketing team, right? And you have limited budget. So you want to be a bit like the previous speaker was saying, you really want to be able to focus on data or how do you optimize your activities. That's a key focus right now that I don't think, or at least I don't know how to use AI to deal with other than kind of standard automation and marketing tools or business intelligence tools. But then when it comes to kind of some content creation, especially sales decks, I think it can be really useful. I mean, I'm a former journalist, so when it comes to using it for storytelling or for, some content creation, then I actually do have an advantage in being able to read it and edit it. But I think there are many ways that it can. I don't think right now we're at a stage, especially when we're dealing with such a complex and niche area, that it could fully replace anyone in my team yet. But it certainly kind of cuts the tasks and helps us focus on other areas that we need to, especially the relationship building that we talked about before.
Yeah, well, thanks for explaining that. Everybody is trying around, and we'll see how it will develop, the AI here. Another question here from Frederick Hamhan. Which measurement points are the most important within marketing for fintech companies?
For me, first touch point. I think that's critical. Again, with a limited budget and a small team, you really need to understand where your leads, where your prospects, where your conversations are coming from. We don't have a big budget to spend on several events in several markets or to run huge amounts of money on Google Ads or LinkedIn marketing. So we really need to understand, where they're coming from, where to focus, where to invest the budget, and where to get sign off and increase budget.
Yeah. And a last question here from Sophia Anderson. What are some challenges and opportunities you encountered when partnering with traditional banks, and how have you navigated through it? A little bit on everybody wants to get in the door with traditional banks here.
I mean, I'm trying to think of something like specific or an example to give you that, but I feel like I'm a bit on the spot. But yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think one of the critical ones actually is large banks. And I actually had lunch the other day with a quite senior person at a large bank, and she was telling me about this issue that they had internally, which was, they had got this great partnership. They were super excited to implement it. They'd spent weeks on it or months on it. They were 80% of the way. They hadn't got the right person in the tech team. They got the wrong, well, they just hadn't realized. And then the whole project got shut down. And there's time and there's money. So that's even when you have cheerleaders within a company, this massive company with different stakeholders, not only do they need kind of project management support from your fintech, they need project management support from your fintech, because when you're in such a big organization, you don't actually always know who the senior stakeholders are. So we also need to be able to support them with that. Like, have you had tech sign off, compliance sign off, marketing sign off, business sign off, whatever? It always needs to be done with a checklist from our side as well.
Well, with that, Lima, we are so thankful for you sharing your insights here. So thank you so much for coming on here. And if people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Well, there aren't many people called Lima Curtis out there. It's a strange name. So you can just find me on LinkedIn, I think, pretty easily. But I will also share my URL in the chat. So
yes,
please reach out. And I'm always in the Nordics and Europe. So yeah, any questions, anytime. Happy to help.
Thank you so much. And good luck now with everything at Montinho.
Thank you so much.
Okay, have a great day.
Hi.
Moving on in the schedule to our next speaker, and that is actually my colleague and our growth marketing manager here at Bright Vision, Anna Herman. And Anna have actually a background in fintech, but beside that, 50 years of marketing management and in different tech and SaaS companies. And so forth, where she have done a lot of product marketing and go-to-marketing strategies and so on. So really good to have you with us here today, Anna. And you will be talking about from sales to solutions, adapting product-led growth in B2B Fintech.
Yes, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I can see a lot of friends in the audience and former colleagues. So let's go.
Let's take it away.
As Jacob said, I work here in Bright Vision as growth marketing manager. I have background both in SaaS and in fintech. I worked also in global media agencies before, so kind of a mix. Hopefully that will help me with insightful delivery for you guys today. So yeah, I know what you're thinking. Product-led growth, B2B, fintech. Is this woman a little bit unwell today? But hear me out. We will get to the conclusion, and I hope I will be able to tell you that this is actually not as crazy as it might sound. So let's start from understanding product-led growth. So in a way, it's a paradigm shift where the product itself becomes the primary driver in attracting and retaining customers. It's not only a buzzword, right? Because everybody's writing about it, everybody's talking about it. But let's go a little bit beyond that and try to really grasp the idea of product-led growth. It's the transitioning from the sales-driven approach to one where the product solves the customer's needs directly, right? So it involves showcasing the product's value through different means, free trials, freemium models, and in B2B, consumer-grade, user-friendly interfaces. It all together should create or creates a self-selling product strategy. Why is it important? Why is PLG important in today's day and age, on today's market? Well, it meets the modern buyer's expectations by allowing them to experience product firsthand without commitment, right? This approach is more efficient than relying heavily on your sales force. It leads to lower acquisition costs and should at least affect in streamlined growth. PLG enables rapid scaling through product excellence, leverages user feedback for product enhancement, for continual. I'm also forgetting how to speak today. I think it's contagious, Lima. For product enhancement, and this is especially crucial in very, very competitive fintech environment. There is some influence of PLG that we see in B2B fintech already. It's all about creating fintech solutions that address user needs directly, that enhances trust and adoption. And also the agility is something worth mentioning. So this approach allows fintechs to remain agile and responsive to market demands. This is just a teaser. We will touch on it a little bit later. So in terms of emerging trends that we see shaping in fintech, so we see the focus on enhancing user experience by using data to tailor the solutions, right? So we know we usually sit on a massive backlog of data somewhere. It's our data, is the data of our partners. We can analyze it and we can draw conclusions. So this is one of the crucial PLG strategies that are very important to use in your space, right? Integrating product-led content strategies. This is a good one, and we will talk about it going forward. This is absolutely crucial for educating prospects and converting them into users. What also we see? Focus on seamless and engaging user interfaces. This consumerization of the interfaces, making them as straightforward, easy to use, and simple as humanly possible. Harnessing the analytics to tailor solutions to user behavior, very important PLG principle. And integrating product-led content strategies, again, to educate and convert prospects to users. Just very quickly about the core principles of PLG. So we have building user-centric solutions, simplifying user interaction, and monetizing user interaction and engagement. We design with the end user in mind, and we have to remember that the end user, in our case, very often, that won't be the hand that signs the check, right? That will be maybe a developer, that might be a bank clerk in the branch. By making our tool as usable for them as possible, we create internal champions, we create word of mouth, we create internal awareness that there is something that is useful that the people, in the trenches use, right? So this is absolutely crucial. Focusing on iterative improvements based on user feedback. This is helpful in retention, but also acquisition. It most certainly prevents the situation where there is a new competitor coming to the market. And because we haven't listened to our users, we've been blind and deaf, to suggestions about new features or how we can improve things. There is suddenly someone new, and John from the IT department comes to his boss and saying, hey, we are using this, but at the moment there is actually this new soft on the market, and it does it better. So this is also something worth remembering about. Simplifying user interaction, touched upon this earlier also. It has to be consumer grade. There is no more doubts about it. We all remember, especially in fintech, and especially dealing with those incumbent banks that Lima was talking about. We sometimes are too used that the interfaces can be like 1980s style, really hard to grasp legacy systems, and we really have to go away from that. I think most of recent modern B2B fintechs got this quite right, but nevertheless, this is how they take it from the PLG playbook. What is very, very important is independent solution exploration. The other day, this is actually quite funny story because I don't speak Swedish very well, but I witnessed a conversation, not even a conversation, but just the answers from the person on the phone, on the street. Clearly, they were talking to a salesperson from the other side. And at some point, this very annoyed person said that, okay, so if I will give you, I will Google you. And then if this information is not on the website, then I don't know what you can do for me. So whilst telemarketing is extremely important, and the multi-channel approach in direct and in outbound, it's absolutely not to, not to diss that. But what this person was actually talking about is that they want to have the power of decision, the power of choice, to explore the solutions, to read about them, to understand them, and to self-serve their journey. There will be many buyers, not all of them, and definitely not when we're talking about incumbent banks. Nevertheless, there will be many involvements within the decision-making process where some of the less senior people would like to inform themselves before making a report, so to say, to their bosses, to procurement, or to whoever is the person that is the budget holder. In terms of monetizing, we're not going to talk a lot about this because you guys, you all know that this is very different organization to organization, but there are still things we can do, right? We can leverage freemium models, we can use sandboxes, we can do a lot of things that will happen before the moment to pick up the bill comes, right? We can cross-sell and upsell based on different features. We can encourage value-based solution expansion by doing this. We can also tailor upselling strategies based on data. As I said, usually we have the data, we just don't know what to do with it and how to do things with it. But this is absolutely a consumer, this is a tactic borrowed from the B2C playbook that still is applicable in B2B fintech space. So we all know about PLG. We all read books. We all know, most of us will know about stuff I just said about. What is stopping us? What is the problem? Why are we not all doing it? Why do we still have salespeople? Why do we still have all of these, marketing campaigns, lead generation going on? Why is this not working, right? A very good question. I can't see if anybody's laughing, but I bet few of you definitely are. So sufficient to say, adopting PLG in fintech isn't straightforward. And I suppose there are other words that carry some heavier caliber to them that could be used in this instance. But let's settle for isn't straightforward, right? Challenges, and again, it is very interesting coming back to Lima's presentation. Challenges include integrating complex B2B solutions into client infrastructures, right? Like we often deal with legacy core banking systems from the olden days. And by olden days, I mean, sometimes it's the olden days when you dialed in via modem to quote unquote surf the web, right? That old. So we're targeting traditional financial institutions, and they might be slow to adopt new technologies, which doesn't come as a surprise, really. What's more, there are cultural and strategic barriers, such as shifting from traditional strategies to a PLG mindset, and this is the lack of control situation. So there is this, we have this internal bias, and this is not only a bias, this is a legit, valid fear that if we will let go, just put our product into the wild and allow the user to educate themselves and to do things on their own. Like we lose the control over the sales force that will be pushing and calling and doing all of these things salespeople do, right? Which is scary. Like, how can we do that? It is scary, and very often it might not be the way to go for us, right? If our solution is a massive customizable puzzle that we have to really put together for all of our clients, each and every one of them separately, then, well, not going to happen. But truth being said, this is not always the case. Very often we want to think this is the case. Oh, that's not going to work for us. There is nothing we can do. Well, it is and it is not. And there are things, most definitely, we all can do. All as we sit here, doesn't matter what our organization is. There are elements of PLG we all can use, right, for our benefit. So stay tuned. Don't log out yet. It will get better. We have some case studies. So we have some cases where actually B2B fintechs did implement PLG strategies. And just very quickly, because they are big known players, you know, Google, for more details, this is available information, but just to touch base. So Stripe, everybody knows Stripe, right? It is online payments with seamless integration, clear pricing, user-friendly APIs. And what Stripe does, they facilitate easy implementation for developers, for the end user, right? They have clear pricing structure to ensure business can easily grasp the cost. Stripe offers comprehensive tools and documentation. By that, they promote exploration and adoption. So what is very important in the Stripe case is targeting the end users, if you ask me. The developers, right? They can influence the decision-making, advocate for the solution. This is one thing Stripe did very, very well. And they've proven that this strategy can have a really big payoff. Going forward, we have Square. Square revolutionized in-person payments for small businesses with very accessible technology. They use simplified in-person payments for small businesses with very straightforward point-of-sale systems. And some key strategies from the PLG playbook they took out. They provide free hardware, simple setup, range of business solutions from payment to payroll. So we have the whole suite of different use cases. And they continuously refine the offerings based on user feedback. The last one in this series is QuickBooks. Streamlines accounting for small and medium enterprises with extremely simple interfaces, right? So it makes it accessible for non-experts. And if anybody, any of you ever had their own company and they never seen an accounting system before, this is probably comparable to watching your first horror movie, you know, when the parents went to sleep and you just scroll into the TV room. That's how it was in my case. There is many different plans to grow, and your subscription can grow with the business. And the most important thing in this one, if I were to mention the most important thing with QuickBooks, it integrates with everything. The more integrations, the more room for product-led growth. I mean, also think Slack or Notion or this sort of thing, which are not fintechs, but they are very, very well-known use cases for it. So there we have it. What can we actually do? If so far we sort of taking off things that we cannot do, let's talk about things that are actually possible for us. Let's start from some culture-driven things that we can implement in our organization. We have to foster a product-centric culture, so everybody's involved, right? The IT, the devs, the product, the sales, marketing, because sales and marketing still gonna play a role, right? They're not going to go away, and the poor product manager is going to take all of this on. Could be in some cases, but I highly doubt it. But we have to internally decide that we are elevating the product's role, and the product is what we have, all of us, the entire company, put the most effort in. So all of the teams have to be aligned with the PLG objectives. Marketing's role in solution communication. Sales is shifting from pressuring and calling and nagging to be a trusted advisor, to be a supporter, to be a helper. And of course, customer success is a massive, massive growth catalyst. So all of us have to be on board, and all of us have to decide that this is from now on what we're doing. This is what we are focusing on. And here, product-led content marketing, right? I promised that there will be something we actually can do, and here it is. In PLG, content marketing shifts to a very strategic role. It's about using content not just for messaging, but as a strategic asset in product awareness, adoption, and user education. What we want to do is we want to aim to create educational and engaging content that guides users for their journey with our product. We can use content clusters, so we can target content for every funnel stage. We should develop specific content for different stages of the user journey, from initial awareness to advocacy. This is very much for the self-service part. Wherever I am in my user journey, in my customer journey, I can find the answers to my questions with self-service. This is very important for SEO also. So SEO can be absolutely fantastic product-led growth tool and product-led content marketing tool. There is a fantastic case study of Airtable, which, because this is not a fintech, I'm not going to talk about it. But if you're interested in how to make content work for you, for your product-led growth content marketing strategy, Google Airtable and get the use case and see how they done it. I have 5 minutes, so I have to speed up a little bit, guys. So the presentation will be shared. So let's see what we can fit in the 5 minutes. The core principles of product-led content marketing, driving experience and value. We have to, in a way, transcendent from the promotional messaging, choose us, we are the best, to actually solve problems, to actually respond to the problems our users looking for. Is the key value provider in product experience, right? That's the second point. We have to make sure also that on all platforms, the content is interconnected, that it reinforces the value. Quality as the forefront, right? This is a no-brainer. This is what we should do, or PLG or not. Should be absolute principle for any content strategy. So I skipped those three. I just briefly mentioned them in the previous slide. So in terms of creating value-driven content, we treat the content as a path to engagement and sign-up. So we have to focus on creating content that naturally leads the users to explore and adopt the product. There is plenty of different tactics and different strategies how to do it, but content cluster is based on customer journey and based on use case. This is one of the things how you fulfill this path to self-service, to sign up. Building engagement for conversion, to develop engaging content to captivate readers, to increase the likelihood of product purchase, of course. And we use high-value content to position the company as an industry leader, enhancing our credibility and trust. In terms of types of value-added content, that comes as no surprise, educational articles, in-depth guides, case studies, to demonstrate how efficient the product is. Interactive users, tools, calculators, templates, anything that could showcase the product's practical application and how easy it is to use. At the same time, we have to remember about the subtle art of balancing promotional and informative content. Then again, we have case studies. We have Wise. Wise created guides for almost every single bank, how to close accounts with them and open an account with Wise. So thanks to that, they captured the bottom of the funnel, so the users that are ready to convert. Something Hong was also mentioned, that this is the most important part. We want to results, so we have to attack the bottom of the funnel. Curvo started their content journey before they launched. This is also, this shows us how content and its incorporation SEO, because they had many significant initial signups purely from organic search and awareness. These efforts can build a lead machine even before the product is launched. Also, that utilizes the waiting list tactic. Agile created plenty of content based on actual customer conversations. So they know what are the real pain points, what are the real struggles the users will encounter. Yeah, like, have you ever Googled an issue that is before ChatGPT, of course, that you are experiencing, thinking that it's only you having this issue, but silently hoping some users somewhere encountered it before and posted on product forums or Reddit, right? This is the mechanics Agile used, but they captured the traffic themselves instead of Reddit, right? Outside of the retention, it also helps to answer the questions users might have pre-purchase, pre-buying, and around integration and use cases. So this is what we can do. We can always incorporate product-led growth content marketing if we want to take something out of PLG books. What's the future? So the shift we are seeing is the product-centric approach. We still, doesn't matter where our organization is on the scale from sales-driven to product-driven, we pay more attention to our product and how easy it is to use, how good it looks, how usable it is. Content as a strategic tool. So we see more and more value in content, not just as a publishing one blog per week, blog post per week, but that there is different roles that content can have in a full-blown PLG strategy, but also used as one element of it can really, really bring many benefits to our marketing strategies. And our solutions become customer focused. We do try to understand and address the pain points the actual end user has, and we want to be the literal answer to the prayers of the end user. So looking ahead, we anticipate continued innovation in PLG and continuously moving more PLG elements to B2B Fintech. Also in terms of content marketing, product-led content marketing strategies. We of course expect increased integration of technologies like AI and greater emphasis on user experience and engagement. And so to finish it off, companies in the fintech space will implement PLG or its elements and content marketing strategies, as mentioned before, these product-driven ones, to stay ahead. Advanced analytics, AI, and personalization will aid in creating more targeted and effective content. And most definitely, we will see even more user-centric products and more user-centric content, personalized experiences and solutions, all that to resonate deeply with customers' evolving needs. If you have any questions, you can write me an email. You can find me on LinkedIn. I presume there is more people with my name. I once Googled and there is plenty, but not many short-haired ones. So that's how you can find me. Just quick reminder, Bright Vision does a wonderful workshop with a specialist It's worth a lot of money. You can have it for free. If you are interested in it, there is a QR code on the top right corner of your screen.
Thank you, Anna. That was so interesting to hear your thoughts about product-led growth and so forth. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions, but you answered a lot of questions in the speech anyway. So if you want to answer those questions, Anna, maybe in the chat or on LinkedIn or so, maybe we can follow up on that afterwards and so forth.
It will be fantastic. If anybody wants to ask a question, just fire me an email. I'll be very happy to answer anything you might be interested in.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Anna. We are moving on in the agenda here now, and I'm happy to welcome Simon Birschgau, who's CMO of Cardley and Vetex, to the stage. He have over a decade of C-level experience from different companies and is a master of digital growth hacking and data analytics. And he is a leader in business development, known for his innovative approach to introducing new revenue models and executing go-to-market strategies. And today, we'll have the privilege to hear him share his expertise in leveraging partnerships for client acquisitions, offering insights into how strategic collaborations can be a game changer in acquiring new strategies. Hello and welcome, Simon. No, I can't hear you. Let's see if we can get your mic on. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, there we are.
Sorry.
Well, so great to have you with us.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. So looking forward to this presentation today. So
am I. So take it away, Simon, and we'll catch up in 20 minutes with questions.
Thank you. So my name is Simon. I'm from Cardley. I have a background from the telco industry and also from different online portals in Denmark. I've been the CMO in Cardley for the last 4 years. My responsibility spans over both our product, our partners, and also our customer success and marketing. So just presenting Cardley this slide. So Cardley is a Danish fintech. We have existed since 2016. Today we are around 60 people. Of course, we are working global, so we also have a lot of different nationalities and different development teams. We are a software company, of course, and we serve up to a million cards globally with our solution. So just a short history about Cardley. So actually we have created or founded in 2016, and we have had a quite different story from some of the other Danish fintechs. We actually started out as a blue label cards and spend management solution, but we realized that it was better to develop, let's say, a scalable platform, spend management platform, and then distribute it via partners in a white label model. Of course, our business model is to enable partners to supply an end-to-end spend management solution, because we see an urgent need in the market, in the B2B market, for an effortless, administration of spend and also card usage, and also a better insight into transaction data than it is to be found today. So we deliver a white label solution in a SaaS model for banks, financial institutions, corporates, fleet card operators or the like, primarily in Europe, but also soon in the US. We have a network of partners, so our product is developed in-house, but we distribute the product and collaborate with different partners, both in terms of distribution, as you see to the right here. To the left, and then we also have our product distributed via an infrastructure partner network, both via MasterCard, SAP Concur, PwC, different processes, or the like. So our business model is that we integrate into the issuer and processor network. We have built a front end that to be distributed in a white label model, so that our partner can have it in their look and feel and the visual identity of the partner. and where we have both a front-end app and also a web application in different ways, both to have a full functional card management functionality, so that you can set up your company, you can issue cards, you can administrate corporate cards for your company inside our platform. And we also have a full expense management system and a VAT reclaim system on top of that, so that all transactions can be enriched and you can digitalize and streamline your expense reconciliation process, and also having the VAT reclaim handled in one platform. And in order to support, our partners, what we experience is that it's not enough just to, develop the best possible product and the best possible solution in the market. We also acknowledge that we need to support our partners in the go-to-market side. So what we have built up a dedicated delivery organization, but also specialists in sales and marketing as an enablement team, and we also supply and support our partners with customer success and also enablement materials to support the activities with our partners. And this dedicated teams support both from the implementation, so actually steering our partners in the product implementation and the integration work, which starts with a statement of work, but also very neatly followed during the implementation time. Before the actual rollout and go live, we have sales and marketing teams working strategically and also operationally with the partner in terms of being able to do product marketing, having the right materials in place and campaigns in place, and of course enabling or even driving the customer success with the partner, securing support, but also having continuously release notes and also materials ready for the partners and also the customers to be able to have the full value from our solutions. Some of the key learnings that I see from our business model here is that it needs to be alignment between what is business critical and also the prioritization. Sometimes, especially in the financial industry, is probably not the most innovative, industry in the market here, but it's always good to have the alignment quite early, and also with the key stakeholders in the entire organization, in order to have it to scale the partnership and enable client acquisition. Sometimes you also understand that this might be not the core business, so that they might not have domain expertise in terms of spend management and VAT reclaim, but more coming from the different areas of the value chain. Either it could be the financial side or the card business, but don't necessarily know the expertise of expense management or the others, or coming from the different side of being good at integrations and data, and probably not on the cards management side. We also experience a different culture. So if it's a financial industry or financial company, they might have a different culture, very complex stakeholder management. Needs to be able to mingle that, especially as a fintech working with big organizations. And also that we need to have the resources and capabilities from both parties in order to excel and compete in the market for both expense management and also card management. So by having these strategic levers in place, we can shorten the time to market, because we're more ready, we're more, we avoid the child diseases that might be occurring when you implement new products like this and solutions. And of course, we can have a higher ROI on the investment, both in terms of the implementation, but also marketing and sales efforts, because we have some best practices and also some ready-to-use materials that will be able to use in these cases. We also try to enforce and help with a more agile focus, to be more focused on the client, and also be a more product and client-oriented culture within our partners. To have just a case on this, we have a partnership with the DKV Mobility Group, but also Lunardis, fully owned by Mobility, the DKV Group. It's one of the biggest fleet card operators in Europe. They have approximately 250,000 companies in Europe, spanning over 8 countries. And it's actually a quite old institution in Germany and also in Europe. And what they realized, they wanted to both supply a business card, a corporate credit card to their existing client base, which is basically having the traditional fuel cards today, but also envisioning with the future of new payment rails and technologies spanning the space over the next decade. So what we help them with today and is live, of course, is a corporate credit card, Lunardis Pay, and also a full spend management solution where the DKV clients can sign up to this, and they can administrate cardholders. They can issue a card. They can instantly change the controls and the credit line on the cards, and they can also administrate all expenses and digitalize the receipts with the expense tool, and they can also apply for VAT reclaim on the expenses that occur on cards outside Germany. So again, our solution is of course primarily the front end, both on the app but also on the web interface, and also the integration we're doing. So what this brings to the client is that we see a lot of clients having shoeboxes of receipts, no digital process at all. We're also seeing companies with probably having a partly digitalized process for this, but we supply a full end-to-end solution with a card and a digital solution for these fleet companies, so that they have more digital and streamlined administration and finance department going forward. So just looking at the go-to-market enablement. So our role here was to bring, of course, the product and the implementation, but what was also to help them go to market with this in 3 phases. So with the beta launch, we were quite close to them, both looking at KPIs, objectives, putting together a value proposition and understanding of the product based on understanding the segments versus the product feature set and the market situation we're in and the use cases. We help them to structure both materials, the web shop, the onboarding of the client, both application of a credit card, but also to the digital onboarding and activation of the client, from sessions with product training and enablement of the teams, both support, sales, and also we are providing a full customer success setup with the German-speaking agent, helping them with the clients that needs to have some assistance with the activation of the product. We work with them on of course, clients, direct sales to get the first clients on board with the solution, and adaptation of the needs and feedback into the marketing and sales materials as well. And into the next phase, where we had a broader introduction to more sales teams, including DKV. We also built online marketing repositories so that we have different versions of the product marketing materials, improving the sales pitch based on customer feedback, and also implementing a more structured ways of working with them on a daily basis. So the beta phase was very close to them, even being physically present on site at the site in Germany. But as we go more into the market and full launch, we are more, assisting them online. And into the full launch, which we are going now, is being more like the enabler. So adjusting to best practice, having a feedback loop from users into product, and so forth, but also enabling the different channels, but also rolling this out to the other countries in Europe, where there could be some local both requirements in terms of compliance, but also customer feedback and needs, especially related to integration into ERP systems. So just some examples of what we have built in terms of marketing. So we have both, based on our expertise with other markets and other clients, built websites, so full designs that they could, let's say, follow. And we have discussions on that, how to create the best possible UI and UX to optimize the sign up digitally for both small and medium-sized clients in Germany. We are done a lot of sales training and enablement, so both sales materials in German and in English, but also having product videos explaining different, feature sets, the value proposition of different functionality of the product. We have also created, of course, a sales demo that they can use. This is based on our white label setup we have, of course, and then also adjusting FAQs, sales FAQs, and conversation starters for their both internal sales teams in DKV Lunaris, but also externally. We have, based on our expertise, also having this marketing toolkit where we have different use cases, easy to replicate, but also change of colors and logos. It could be both related to the app, but also primarily functionality on the web, sales brochures, one-pages for customer support and success. And also we have a guide system that we can easily do different versions on based on a Zendesk setup that we provide to the partner. So all of this is to bring down the time to market and bring the quality up, being a better alignment on the product in order for the partner to do the best possible marketing and sales effort of our product, basically. Yeah, this was just to brag about us being in Germany a few times, where we have met and do a lot of workshops with our friends at Lunaris in Rating in Düsseldorf. So some of the recommendations that I can get to you, the audience here, is that I think it's important to align on the objective and the goals when you go into a business model and a partnership with this type of product very early in the process, especially also understanding the target market you are going with this type of solution, also your customers, understanding the use cases in order to produce product-led marketing material, but also adjusting the product and the value proposition towards the target group that you're going after to have the best possible success with this. But also that you not only creating a product, but also having resources internally and specialists to support the partner, because then you reduce the risk when you have a partner to distribute and support your product, and also to better understand and get the user feedback back from the commercial department, integrated into the product and development department in a software company like ours. And also keeping an agile and configurable setup so that you can support and scale at the same time, not being restricted on different versions of your material, but having a setup that is ready to distribute to different markets, different countries, different also translated in different languages and so on. But most of all, I think it's all about people here. So we have also realized building a strong relationship, you don't do online. We need to have a very close relationship, understanding each other's situation, culture, and also stakeholders. So we can create this we culture working with a partner on a solution like this. This was actually my words. So thanks a lot for listening.
Thank you, and that was really, really great, Simon. And we have time for a few short questions here. So let's dive right into Louise Hansson's questions here. How are you scouting for partners? How do you know who's a good match?
Yeah, it's actually a good question. I think it's complicated. We're focusing on three different verticals, I would say, both traditional banks that will have a card but will need to have a digital solution in place to keep the clients and to grow the clients. We're also focusing on fleet card operators like Lunaris to provide a solution for them, both for as a strategic tool, but also to provide a tool that with a card that is different from their normal card today, but also I would say tech players that might find a better position in the value chain with a digital tool with us integrated into their let's say core systems, and we both doing this direct to market sales model to find them, but also doing this together with the backend partners like we have today with Solaris or Nets or Infuse or the like, because they also have a network of partnerships that could look alike, so that we can scale with the same integration more than once, right?
Okay, so interesting. And the last question here: what do you see the role of strategic partnerships heading in the future of fintech? Do you think everybody will go down this road, or what's your thought about that?
I think these days, where especially funding is becoming harder in fintech space, I think our business model is quite interesting because we don't need as much funding in order to grow. I think partnerships are not only in fintech but also other businesses very important, because you cannot be excelling in each discipline. I think we can use each other's strength to actually create bigger things faster. So I think partnerships not only in fintechs but also in other businesses will be even more important in the future, because I don't think the funding, especially for companies like us, will be the same over the next years to come.
So yeah, with that we we say thank you so much, Simon. That was awesome to hear your journey, how you have leveraged those partnerships. And if people want to reach out to you, where can they find you, Simon?
I can just post my LinkedIn profile here. 2 seconds.
Yes, please do. That's awesome. And if you had a question that you didn't have time to post in the chat or didn't get answered right now, please contact Simon on the LinkedIn, and we can take it from there. Thank you so much, Simon, and all the best, and good luck now with Cardlay and Battax in the future.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. And we are moving on in the agenda, and next speaker here is Koen van der Hooydonk, who is a fintech and regtech expert with over 25 years in B2B finance. So really excited to listen to this. You're also an author and have written a book about regtech, and also founder of The Connector, a platform for scaling sales solutions in finance, and have a long career with companies like Euroclear, Bink Bank, and now as CEO of Blanco. So we want to hear you talk more about fake it until you make it, but when you make it, do not break it. Fantastic. I'm so excited to hear what you have planned for us today. So welcome, Koen.
But so am I, actually. I'm also very excited to be here. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak out a little bit about myself, about my journey into where I am today. And I hope that I will entertain you a little bit, but not only from an entertainment point of view, but also from a content point of view, that at the end of our 20 minutes that everyone will say like, I took something away, and that will make my day as well.
Yeah, well, go ahead.
All right, here we go then. Well, fake it until you make it, but when you make it, do not break it. It sounds so obvious, but I would like to take you to a bit of a story about myself. So I have been in business for a long time, but I was never really born to be a banker, because that's where it all started. I was studying when I was 16 years old. I had 8 hours math a day. I was into the very much technology area. I was about to become an engineer. But then things happened in my life on which I really realized that maybe life is not necessarily about zeros and ones. It's not necessarily about bits and bytes, but it's more about people. So I turned out to study human resources, and I ended up in a human resources company. And that's where it all happened, because suddenly I got a call from a guy called Danny. And Danny called me and he said, "Kun, I want you to come and work for me. I work for Euroclear." And I said, "Oh, I never heard about Euroclear. So what are you guys doing?" So being very interested. And it turned out that Euroclear was a bank of banks, very much in the post-trading space, super international. And you know what? Danny turned out to be the husband of one of the recruitment ladies that was working in my same company that I was working. So a little bit odd, but I ended up working for Euroclear. And before I got hired in Euroclear, it was a bit of a tough one, because I was a guy that had long hair, which I still have today, actually, or have again today. But Danny could not actually allow me to come to the company, because he wanted to have approval from the M+1. And neither did the M+1 did, neither did the M+2 did. But eventually the COO of the company said, "Well, yeah, maybe Kun, you should come on board." And that looked a little bit like this, if that works. So that was me in the 98, starting at Euroclear. So I hope you're all going to say I look exactly the same, because that would be very much what I would like. But starting in Euroclear, I actually came into a big bank, and it was very interesting for me, because starting at 7 o'clock in the morning, I had the Chinese coming up, the Japanese. 9 o'clock Europe was waking up, 10 o'clock London, and 2 o'clock New York. So it was super exciting to be in an environment where there was this superb combination between either technology and also having human contact. So I liked that a lot. But this is also where I started thinking about how beautiful I like banking, and how much banking is actually so much an essential role in our society. And while realizing that, I started to look up, down into the company, and I realized that I had utmost respect for my directors and everyone above. But I also realized there was a large gap between me and them, and not from a look and feel, but more from an age gap. So that's what I realized, that I had to growth hack my way in. If somebody had to own the future of banking, yeah, then it was our generation that had to stand up. And that's where it all started. So how to do that? And this is where I ended up being very active in growth hackers communities. I started to learn that it was important to speak up, to be voicey, and I sort of started to growth hack, well, myself. And that was the result. I turned out to be a full-fledged banker. Nice groom, nice tailor-made dress, everything, costume, everything you want, a full entire that was fully fit for purpose. And I did a lot of things as a banker, but in the growth hack communities, I was sort of still flabbergasted, because one time, I was in one of these like meetup type of things, and during a meetup, there was this guy wearing like a Google Glass, for those that still remember, like a sort of setting thing on their glasses, because he was sponsored. That was a perk, growth hacking, right? And he was saying like, "Yeah, you know, I drive a very fast car, and I get this car because it's also sponsored to me, but I deliberately drive too fast. So I get speeding tickets by the cops, and one day they stop me, I'll take pictures and I'll post that on Twitter." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is clickbait, ladies and gentlemen. What the hell are we doing?" So I was about to stand up and be proud to be a white knight and not be a black knight, because, man, how could this be that we were using technology to sort of influence people in a way that it didn't make sense? And it even got worse, because then that same guy, we're getting towards the end of the year, and in Belgium, what we do is we have these kind of projects from the government that they try to avoid people to drive and drink at the same time. So they asked the same guy to be promoting the campaign. I was like, oh, how could this be? That was really hurtful. But then again, I thought maybe I'll need to think about how these sort of technologies and how that growth hacker techniques, how are they actually used in a good way? And I happened to find a tool called Articolo. It was literally 15 years ago. And the tool allowed me to put a couple of keywords. And for $1, I got an article. I was extremely pleased to try that out. And I thought by myself, this is a brilliant article. At least it was a foundation. And back in the days, there was no tool that was actually checking up what is the value, how good you're writing, and like Grammarly and any kind of auto ChatGPT function. So good old me went to my wife and said, hey, can you please double check what I've been writing? And she started laughing with me. And she started laughing for two things. The first thing she said, Koen, you're using the title. That is not even a word. My title was Let's Get Phygital. And she was like, that doesn't make sense. And by the way, you use another word, because I was combining everything that was happening on global level. And I said, like, yeah, but the world is turning to be local. So I introduced the term glocal. I said, oh, you cannot write something like that because it's two completely words that are made up. Why the hell are you doing? But I stayed strong, and I posted this post on LinkedIn as an article. And you know what? 2 weeks later, I had a phone call. And that phone call was from a gentleman from the NEFMA Association in Boston, Connecticut, in the US. And he said to me, Koen, we really liked your article. Would you like to come over to our conference, and would you like to do a keynote speech to us? And I was obviously a little bit flabbergasted, and I double checked. I said, are you sure you're talking to the right Koen? Because I'm just a very simple guy that wrote a blog post. No, we like it. We want to see you. And I said, okay, I'm accepting it. And they actually paid me sort of in a way, because I could bring my wife, and the whole holiday was paid. So I sort of got her back in that moment, because I said, like, look, those two words that brought us a very nice holiday. But the point was, they invited me to this event, and I started to realize that the event was not just an event. It was an event with about 300 bankers, credit unions in the US, coming together on a quarterly basis. And they asked me to be in front of that audience, a large venue, to come and talk about the difference between the fintech industry in Europe versus the one in the US. And I was like, fake it until you make it, but when you make it, you don't break it. So I had to go on stage, prepare myself digitally in order to give a good speech. I think I worked out well, because they were super happy, and they sort of brought me, they came back afterwards, and I was invited again to come back after 2 years. So it was a sort of a very good experience. So talking a bit about making it, I still think that it's important that you sort of do the part. And I thought, instead of just showing pictures, I also have the books with me. So there's a couple of books. The latest one is around ESG. So it's not only on RegTech, but it's on ESG. We introduced it last week in Singapore at the Singapore Fintech Festival. So that was happy days. And in the meantime, after those many years, if you were one of the first ones that were content producers on LinkedIn and active on Twitter, it became much easier to become an influencer. And last year I was sort of crowned to be number 28 of the FinTech influencers list in Europe. So very happy about that. But then again, it's all about what you do and how you make it. And I would like to focus a little bit on the making part, because I was introduced as being the CEO of Blanco. That's not 100% right, because I did that. I worked for a scaling company called Blanco, and there I realized the difficulty that comes with scaling, the difficulty that comes with growing your own business. And there was a couple of things that really struck me, is that when we were growing at the time, I was responsible for the growth of the company, and we did well. However, I realized that it was very, 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 very expensive. And the reason being that I was in a B2B environment, and Simon from Cartley was mentioning that partnerships are important. I 100% agree, because that's what took us the most time, is to go out, to go to different regions, to go to different parts of the world, and sometimes not even so far away, to realize that the ecosystem that you thought was similar is completely different. And what I realized that it's not that you cannot do it, but it just takes an awful lot of time to get trust within that B2B environment. So for me, a lot was to do about how can you create trust. And I think marketing and some of the techniques that have been described also by Anna are very interesting, very useful to build that trust in a faster way than doing it manually or doing it as in a person. Now, that was number one. Number two, I found out that when I was going to events, and I still like that to do that today, actually, events were superpowers, because there you speak to people and people are open to have conversations. So in retrospect, in hindsight, I did the best deals at those events. However, when I started calculating the amount of good conversations that I was having on such an event, I came to a very lousy number of 5%. And for me, at that moment, identity crisis. I was like, oh my God, how can I think by myself that I'm even a good salesman in any way or shape or form? So I asked around a little bit, and it turned out that a lot of my peers actually didn't come to the number of 5%. And I think it had nothing to do with them, but had more to do with the product. How hip is your product at that moment? How much is it in demand? Our product was high in demand. It was KYC, so everyone was asking about it, but still, I was only getting 5%. Now, what I was thinking is maybe I should not focus on the 5%, but I should take this actually to the 59%, because that means that I have plenty of time to potentially talk about other things. And that's why I created the Connector. The Connector is a place, it's a company in which we help companies to scale in Europe. We do that today for about 25 different companies. And we believe that it's important to have people, persons around Europe that represent the network and that represent trust. So we provide that in a fractional basis. But again, it's not about the connector here. It's about sharing a couple of insights that I gained in order to build that traction, not only for ourselves, but also for our clients. So as at large, it's a scaling exercise. It's a sales process on steroids. And I wanted to give you a couple of examples that we do. So yes, we have fully automated LinkedIn outreach. And people would say, oh, that's lead generation. A lot of companies do that, but maybe they're not always working. And when I tried them in the past, they didn't necessarily work. So what we do it with a twist. And that twist is actually to bring authenticity into that. So we're doing similar techniques that are being used by a lot of marketing agencies, but we're doing it to our own persons, being old senior guys in the industry, very much concerned about what's happening in the industry. So that really works well. So that's something as a startup, I would all advise you guys to look at that. And if you don't know how to do it, give me a call, happy to help you, because that's really, really strong. Or even give a call to Anna or to Emma. I'm sure they can help you as well. That's one thing. We believe strongly in content. I've been believing in content virtually all my professional career. That's why I made the books. And guess what? The books are not necessarily all written by me. We introduced a collective way of writing a book. So we contributed with many authors, and together we brought the book. So in a sort of partnership model, everyone was actually using the power of the book. And for that reason, we always said there is never a reason for profit. There's only one reason, that's growth for all of us. And that's what we strongly applied with the RegTech books. Now the ESG books, we tried something new. We're going to post it on Amazon. So in the next couple of days, it will be on Amazon. So we're not sure what that's going to give, but that might also be a way of getting the message out. Then we talk about marketing automation. Are we doing that? In the beginning, not, because I was not so sure about sending like blunt messages to everyone, like repeating yourself, maybe 6, 7 reminders. I don't think that's really working anymore. But then again, what has happened over the last year is it's magic. I guess 90% of the people listening now have probably a professional ChatGPT account. So maybe not directly using ChatGPT just to build your email as such, but if you could combine the power of generative AI to personalize the messages that you send and to keep them again very meaningful to the audience, well, yeah, that seemed to be a blast. So that's something that we're doing today as well. We're using next generation tooling, AI, to make our outreaches extremely personal, and that gets a lot of good responses. I already mentioned that content is very important, but we also believe that it's not only just one-offs. It's all about the drumbeat. It's about being able to continuously push and talk about the same message, repeating yourself. It sounds boring for you as a person because it feels almost like I'm always doing the same. But for the audience, they're not necessarily triggered by the same sort of combination of different moments that they get, the beautiful touch points as they call them, and that's how they generate them. So also for next year, we are going to be full on content. We're going to literally produce with a team of 4, 2 blog posts a week. It's hard work, but again, with latest technology, it's more easy to get this done. And then last but not least, I still think that events are super important. So we still do that. As a team, we do more than 75 events a year. So we always on the go. But what we try to do is that once we go to an event, we extremely try to personalize every touch points that we have. We try to make the physical touch points that we have extremely meaningful. And how do we do that? Very simple. We bring a book along, or we bring something that we leave with them, something that they remember us, something that they will come back to us. And that seems to be very, very powerful. So to wrap up, I think there's a lot of tooling in the market that you can use. Is it useful? Yes, but don't forget one thing, and that's not and never to lose your authenticity, because I think that's the really most important thing in what you have and how you bring your company to the next level. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to get some questions.
Thank you, Koen. Interesting and exciting journey you have had, and awesome insights in how to produce content and how to build trust and so forth. So really, really excited to have learned a lot here. So let's see what questions we have here. Based on your experience, what future trends do you see coming up in fintech and regtech?
Well, that's a very good question, actually. I think there's good and there's bad news. Sorry to be the party pooper. not only good news. I think what you see today is that fintech is pretty much under pressure as we speak. And I heard it already by some of the others. It's not so easy because the money is drying up. So fintechs have to find new ways to be in the market. So what happens, in my opinion, is that good fintechs and bright ideas will always survive. But it's going to be tougher to get up to that journey to be that next bright idea and to be picked up by the industry. I think that's one thing you see as a trend. On the other hand, very tough is that the banks are not necessarily open anymore as they were like 5 or 6 years ago. So it takes a little bit of time to gain the trust from the bank. And that's not so easy, because if you're a startup, you want to move fast. And you already know that sort of lead times to do business are long. I'm seeing some other questions popping in, so you tell me which one I'll need to answer.
Yeah, well, let's move on. A little bit on that topic, as you already were at now, is Louise Hansson's, what are the most pressing challenges in fintech nowadays? Maybe you want to tie into that?
I think the answer is already given. It's growth. And very often what I've seen in the past is that fintech organizations were large, but in their own sort of area, in their own region. What I mean by that, large in the Nordics, large in the Benelux, large in DACH. But I think the key is, and especially if we want to continue as Europe to stand against the greater nations that are coming, it's a mission to be large in Europe. It's a mission to be large on global scale. And that is actually a whole new way of thinking, and that you cannot do on your own. So therefore, you need very good marketing support. So my belief is there is no sales, there's no marketing, there's only smarketing.
Absolutely. It's marketing. That's great. And talking about that, a last question here. In the context of fake it until you make it, how do you balance projecting confidence with ensuring sustainable growth?
Oh, Connie, that's a very difficult question. I think that one comes from probably a vision being true to yourself, back to the authenticity. Where do you want to come? Where do you want to land as a person? And that sort of that confidence, then I guess when you're like aligned with yourself, then that confidence comes by its own, because then it's no longer fake it. It's a passion that has been expressed wherever you are. As far as that is answering the question.
Well, I'm sure it is. Thank you so much, Koen. It was a pleasure to have you with us here. If people want
Likewise.
to hook up with you or contact you, is it LinkedIn for you as well, or are you on other
LinkedIn? That's probably the most easy one, and I will share my LinkedIn address here as well. So feel free to reach out. Happy to connect. Always.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Koen, for an inspiring talk here. So, and all the best now with all the endeavors you're in, and have a great day.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we are moving on in the agenda here with our next speaker, which is our final speaker, and we're closing into the final session here. And it's great to say that we are welcoming Dr. Christine Bailey, who's a Senior Director and Head of Know Your Customer, I suppose, KYC Marketing at Moody's Analytics, and have a distinguished career in B2B tech and fintech marketing behind her, including pivotal roles at Hewlett-Packard and Cisco Systems, and a lot more, and have a lot of industry experience and so forth. So in other, and also have been a TEDx speaker, etc., etc. So with that very short introduction, we're so happy to have you with us. So welcome, Christine. Let's see if I can hear. I don't hear you. Let's see if you have your. Hello. There's some mute on here. Let's see if we can get the sound working there.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes. Hello,
yes,
Christine. Wonderful to have you with us. How are you?
Thank you. I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And you're calling in from where?
I'm in my log cabin in Shepperton in Surrey in the UK.
Yeah, fantastic. And we're so stoked to hear about a fintech marketing success from unknown to acquired, and the whole story you have to tell us around that. So take it away, and we'll come back with questions afterwards.
Thank you very much. So yes, this is probably one of the most exciting marketing journeys of my career that I'm very happy to share with you today. So if we just dive straight into a bit of background, and I hope you can see this on your screens because it's kind of small for me. Let me see if I can make that better. So Passport was founded by two very lovely gentlemen, Donald Gillies and Henry Irish, when they were 22 years old. And they met on a program organized by Entrepreneur First, which is one of Europe's leading pre-seed technology investors. And they had a vision that they were going to change the way that compliance and trust are managed in regulated markets. And they came on this program together. They didn't know each other before they came on the program. They got paired together, and Passport was born in April 2015. Initial seed investment was got from the program, from episode 1, which is a VC company, and other angel investors. And already in October 2015, they built their first customer called Lubbock Fine. Now, if we fast forward a few years to March, the end of March 2021, I just set up, I'd just come off Valitor, an Icelandic payments company that had just been sold. And I set up a company called Sophia Marketing, and I'd known Donald from before. So he grabbed me and he said, now's the time to really accelerate our marketing journey. So I contracted to him. I was working 4 days a week. I had another employee working for 3 days a week on the account, and we had an intern as well. On top of that, we inherited 1.5 people who were already in the Passport marketing team. Then we went on a journey, which I'm going to share with you here. And that journey resulted in, already in August, we got Series A funding. And then it was like, go, 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 come in-house. So I joined in-house as the CMO. We appointed a revenue marketing director, and we began an aggressive hiring process into sales and marketing. And then before you know it, in November 21, we were acquired by Moody's Analytics. So we'd literally gone from nobody knowing who Passport was to being acquired by Moody's Analytics in November 21. And by that point, we'd got the team up to 10 people in marketing. So how did we do it? Well, we had 3 key strategies. The first one was, nobody knows who we are. So we need to design a new market category, because at the moment, we're just like anybody else. We're a SaaS reg tech company of about 50 people in the UK. Not differentiated. So we need to design a new market category and a differentiated point of view. We've got to launch this category and this point of view in the marketplace. And in parallel, we've got to build a scalable revenue marketing engine. And of course, we've got to measure how we're doing all of those things. So let's look at the first one, design a new market category and a differentiated point of view. Well, designing a category is not necessarily a new concept. If you look at this quote from Harvard Business Review back in 2011, they said then, winning today is about inventing a whole new game, creating a new market category, developing and dominating it over time. Now, I really came across this concept of category creation and domination through a book called Play Bigger, which if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. So it came out in 2016, but there's been editions that have come out since then. And I know one of the writers of this book, Chris Lockhead, who's probably one of the best marketers I've ever come across in my career. So this book, Play Bigger, is all about how to create categories. And we're probably more familiar when we think about, who are the real kings of category creation. Elon Musk developing Tesla, with electric cars. Jeff Bezos for Amazon and Kindle and Amazon AWS. Steve Jobs, and probably lesser known the name Rich Barton, but obviously everybody knows who Expedia and Glassdoor is. So those would be some examples of kings, I would say, of category creation. Why does it matter? Why does it matter that we have to have a clear category and a purpose? Because purpose is very closely linked to the category creation. Well, according to the research from the Play Bigger book, they're saying 21% of Fortune 100 fastest growing categories are category creators. And they have market cap growth that is 3 times that of all the other fast growing companies. And separate to that, Corporate Board and EY did research that said purposeful companies outperform the stock market by 42%. So lots of financial reasons why it's important to have a category and a clear purpose. And I love this quote from Simon Sinek. I love lots of the things that he says, but one of them is, when we know why we do what we do, things fall into place. When we don't, we have to push them into place. Now, Simon has said lots of smart things relating to this topic. He also has this brilliant TED talk called Starting with Why. And this is where he talks about how important it is to have a mission statement with purpose. And he said most companies know what they do and how they do it, but they're not good at saying why they do it or why they exist. And I've added in another one of my own, which is companies are really bad at saying who they are. What category are they in? Who do they want to be? So bearing that in mind, where do you start about when you want to create a new category? Who are you? That's what category creation is all about. And most importantly, what problem are you trying to solve? Does it come, are you solving that from either a market or a technology perspective? So a category could come from one of two places. First of all, it could be a new opportunity that could be met by building some more technology, new technology. For example, Uber. You're standing on a street corner in the pouring rain, you're trying to get a taxi. That's not a new problem. That problem has existed for many, many years. But Uber found a unique way to solve that problem by building a new piece of technology or an app where you could call a taxi and pay for it, etc. So that's an example of one way that you might come across a new category. The other way is that you've got a new technology and you're finding a new use case for it. So it could be blockchain in this case for passport, or it could be AI, or I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but there's been lots of cases where somebody has found a new way to use an existing technology. So it's either going to come from one of those two places, but the fundamental question is, what problem are you trying to solve? And remember that even though I'm a massive advocate of listening to customers might lead you to build something better, not necessarily something different or new. As Clayton Christensen said, better, from Ford, better gives you a faster horse, not a motor car. So it's a good job that Ford didn't listen to customers, because they'd have just got a faster horse. So how do we translate that into, where do we start then with Passport? How do we go about finding and creating this new category? Well, first of all, we did interviews with internal stakeholders, of course the founders, but obviously the other key people in the company. And we said to them, what's the big vision? What problem are you trying to solve? What's your who, what, why, how? What mission are you on? And then we did a review of all the competitive messaging. So we did this through going to their websites and their social media channels of about 5 or 10 competitors that were kind of the closest ones in the space that we were in. And we looked at, what categories do we think they're claiming? What's already gone? And we had to go at identifying their who, what, why, how. And I had myself and the other person in the company was doing this with me. And we also got the intern to do it as well. And it's interesting to see how difficult it was to work out what people were claiming as their who, what, why, how. It was very inconsistent. So we also gave them a consistency score across all of their different channels. Then we looked for some examples of really differentiated messaging, and also some use of messaging that I put it into a sin bin, as like, shoot me dead if I ever use some of those phrases in my marketing. That's my sin bin, not going there. And then we consolidated into a summary of, these are the categories that are already taken. Here's some examples of really differentiated messaging. And here's the sin bin of, don't you dare come out with messaging that sounds like that. And we created a who, what, why, how for Passport and the category. And then we went and tested that messaging with some external experts. Once we'd done that, we also took some other inputs, which were customer analytics. The best proxy for understanding your future customers is to understand your existing customers. So we looked at what industries they're in, what sort of a stage in their life cycle are the companies in, how old are they, how big are they? So we tried to draw some, what countries are they in? We did as much as we could on the existing customer base. Then we drew up some detailed information on the segments or the personas that we were going after. And part of that exercise is what we call the ICP, or the ideal customer profile. So you can see an example of this on the right-hand side, where we said, okay, if we had a dream customer for Passport, how big would they be? What segment would they be in? What geography? What would be the buyer profile and sample job roles? What would be the type of operational model that they would have? What kind of technology, etc. So that's the really important. It's going to really focus your targeting is the ICP. And then finally, the other screenshot is we identified who are the influencers in this space and where are they hanging out? Where do we need to reach them? So we took all of those inputs and started to think about, okay, how can we've got our category, how can we now start to articulate a clear point of view that's going to be about inform the strategy and the branding and the positioning, because we have to remember that category kings lead with language that touches people's emotions. So a strong point of view is going to greatly increase our chance of success. Once we have that strong point of view, everybody in the company, everybody needs to be on message, not just, oh, I think we're on the same page. No, you have to be on the same words, the same meaning, the same values. And a great exercise to do with your leadership team is to ask all of them to write down what they think the who, what, why, how is for your company. And I guarantee you, you won't get answers that are the same. So it's really important, not just on the same page, because people will go, oh, they're roughly the same. Not good enough. You have to be on the same words, the same meaning, the same values if you're really going to win at this category creation. So we wrote the messaging. We were really clear. Why Passport? What's the big mission? What are the key differentiators? And we wrote out the who, why, what, how. We're a SaaS RegTech provider whose platform automates financial crime and compliance processes. You've got to be specific enough that you really are clear about what category you're owning. So our category was SaaS RegTech. It was about automating financial crime and compliance processes. So that was our who. And why, this is the why Passport, which I've brought out a bit bigger. You can see here we were really clear about why we were different from anybody else. We were on a mission to transform risk and compliance. We were designed for the digital economy. We were building this trust infrastructure where you would, sort of like have a trust score as to which companies you'd want to do business with. I think one of the key things that stuck was about this adding the human touch to compliance automation. It's not just about automation, it's about making the best use of the people that you have in the compliance team and not having to compromise between having really robust compliance technology, but also delivering a great customer experience. So we built a whole messaging house around that, and we built a new introduction to Passport deck, the Passport story. And we rolled out this story to all existing employees, and every new person that joined the company had a 30-minute session with me where I would take them through this story. I spent hours with the CEO going over and over the messaging, and he absolutely embraced the messaging and played that out when he spoke to employees, when he spoke to the press, when he stood on stage. So we were really clear about the messaging. So that was all the prep work. How did we then launch this into the marketplace? And one of the key things for me was the brand. I don't know how much you know about color psychology, but there's a quick lesson here is there are 4 color families. And there's lots of different colors. I've just taken the color blue here within the 4 color families. But each of the color family has different physical qualities and different personality traits. So the first thing is, do you have a color palette that aligns to your personality traits of who you want to be and in your messaging, who you are? Secondly, are all the colors in your palette aligned to the same color family? Because if they are aligned, your brain will get a positive association with that color. So if we take the color red, a positive association could be passion, vibrancy, excitement. If they're not from the same color family, then your brain will get a negative association with the red. So danger, aggression, don't go there. So it's really important that 2 things, all of your color palette is in the same color family, and you've picked a color palette that aligns to your personality. So the moment of truth, I hired a color psychology to have a look at the existing Passport colors, and kind of knew it was going to be bad, but yeah, it was bad. So if you look at, these are the numbers of these are all the colors in the palette. There were way too many colors in the palette. But most importantly, they were from every single one of those 4 different color families. And the biggest no-no of all is that the logo itself was not from the same color family. So we had colors families 1 and 3. So you definitely don't want misalignment in your logo colors. So we went through an exercise. We decided to go that family 4 most suited our personality, and we picked 2 colors from family 4, and this became the new logo. Now I have to say this exercise was not as easy as I thought. People were very attached to the existing color families, which I lovingly named Puke Green. Was this one here, which was fine in the digital version, but actually it would look awful as soon as you printed it out in the physical world. It did look like Puke Green. So the original green that we proposed, founders didn't like it. And then, again, it's a bit of a marketing influence here. The name of this color was Lightsaber. And suddenly everyone's like, oh, yes, we like Lightsaber green. So any long story short, this became the new logo colors, Lightsaber green in family 4. So we launched this into the marketplace. We had a lovely new website with these new colors. We built the passport story into the employee onboarding program. We grew our social media presence. We aligned all of our content to this point of view and made sure that we were really consistent in our messaging across all of our digital channels. We started creating original content based on research. So we wanted to test this concept that, is it possible to have both? Can you have greater compliance efficiency and also better customer experience? And we did some original research that discovered if you have a better than expected onboarding experience, it will lead to more loyalty, more advocacy, more new business. Fantastic. So we had a great piece of content that also reinforced the messaging that we were bringing to market. That content was so powerful that we managed to get, here's our founder, Donald, on Sky News on the Ian King show, talking about this research. We also won awards, and we made sure that we leveraged customers as advocates as much as we possibly could. And we picked a few conferences to go and stand on stage and talk about, a lot of it was around our concept of this new approach to transforming risk and compliance. The refresh branding went literally across everything. So you can see, email templates, website, brochures, pop-up stands, Christmas cards or holiday cards, social media tiles, social advertising, you name it, we had the branding everywhere. Okay, moving on. How did we build a scalable revenue marketing engine? Because while we were doing all of the groundwork, we were doing this in the background too. What did we do? We set targets. We created dashboards in order to measure those targets. Now that we had the new website, we hired agencies to help us with the SEO. We thought about what's the call to action on each page. We implemented a chat function, made sure the forms were best practice. Obviously the messaging was all SEO optimized, made sure we had all the cookie policies correct. So we were as good as we possibly could be about the new website, that from a technological perspective and also from a lead flow perspective. Now that we had our ICP, our ideal customer profile, we wanted to make sure we had more data that aligned to that customer data. So we worked with through the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, took us to Autus, which supplied data of people registered with the FCA. So we got some fantastic data and we put that into our databases. And we use that as the foundation then as our targeting for our fully integrated campaigns, where we have this piece of hero content based on original research, and then we build a whole integrated marketing campaign around that original research. We picked some key conferences to go and speak at. We hired a company called Pitch 1-to-1 to train all of our sales teams on social selling, to make sure that one of our key differentiators was that we were born for the digital economy. So we wanted to go to market in a very digital way. And we also started a pilot with LeadSift to monitor buyer intent data and feed that into the sales teams for use in those social selling exercises. where did we get to? Bearing in mind that at the end of March, when we joined, we probably had about 5 or 10% of the pipeline was attributed to marketing generated leads. By the end of Q4, by the end of that year, so 9 months later, 33% of the marketing deals were marketing generated, and 27% of the deal value was marketing generated. So that was by the end of Q4. That was closed business. If we looked forward to Q1 22, 50% of the deals were marketing generated, and 40% of the pipeline value was marketing generated. So yeah, we were pretty proud of that, considering we started from like 5 or 10%. 8 or 9 months later, if you projected to like the Q1 of 22, it was up to 50% of the pipeline contribution was coming from marketing. And we were then at a point where we could put numbers behind the metrics, because when we started out, we knew what we needed to measure, but we were unsure what numbers we should put behind them. So we took an approach, reach, response, and revenue. So the top of the funnel was all about reach, what we were doing through social media, through media coverage, through keyword searches, people coming to webinars, events, invitees, sorry. And then we get into more of the response, where people were leaning in, were giving us their names. We actually could identify an individual, and then going into, you know, the money, which is they may make an inquiry, we qualify it as a marketing lead, it becomes an opportunity, it moves through the pipeline, and we get to, you know, winning business. So for Q1, there's just some examples then of the metrics that we were able to, the numbers we were able to put behind those different tactics. So that was literally a whistle-stop tour through our passport journey. What would I say that we learned from that journey? Aside from the fact that you absolutely should be thinking about your category and your who, what, why, how, and your very differentiated messaging, that aside, you've got to have advocacy from your CEO. Our CEO was just amazing. He didn't stand behind anything that had gone before. He embraced it. He learned it. He evangelized the new messaging, both to employees and to investors and to customers and to the outside world. So his support was advocacy was absolutely crucial. Also, I would say from this experience and also from previous experience of changing brands is never underestimate the emotional attachments to existing brands. It is really difficult to get people to change a color, a placement of a logo, the size of the font or whatever. And we didn't get it right first time. We proposed a certain color. That was too much, but we did lock on lightsaber green. And ironically, everybody loved the lightsaber green. In fact, when we were acquired by Moody's, I think the thing people were most upset about is that lightsaber green was going to go away and we were going to go back to Moody's blue. So yes, don't underestimate that emotional attachment. Change can happen pretty quickly, but it doesn't happen overnight. You're going to have to say it and say it and say it again. And it's really important that everybody is on the same words, on the same meaning, on the same values. We hired very quickly. We went from, 1.5 when I joined, and then I brought in sort of 2.5 people with me, and then we got to 10. You need to hire fast, but you've got to hire the best. We hired some amazing people, and part of how we were able to hire those amazing people was because of our networks, but also because people were really bought into what we were doing and wanted to be part of it. And the last piece of advice was you've got to bring the whole organization with you on the marketing journey. Again, I can't stress enough. Everyone's got to be on the same words, the same meaning, the same values, if you're going to be successful. Thank you very much.
Christine, thank you. That was awesome and really interesting journey. And in such a short time, you have been doing so much for, Passport. So that was really exciting to see. And so thanks for sharing all these insights. And we have time for a few questions. And so please send your questions here if you have questions for Christine. So let's go with this one from Alan Thomas. How do you overcome educating and persuading prospects to pay attention to a new category that they are not necessarily aware of or interested in? And how do you do this on a smaller budget? Is it even possible? That's a very interesting question.
So I would say it comes back to laser focus about being really clear who your target audience is, and that comes from the ideal customer profile. So make sure that everybody, don't waste a cent of your marketing dollars on people that you don't care about. So be really clear about your ideal customer profile, and then just target them with your messaging. And we did it through thought leadership. We created some original content, which luckily for us, absolutely, reinforced the messaging that we were bringing across, that you don't have to compromise between compliance efficiency and a great customer experience, and that if you delivered a great customer experience because the onboarding experience was a good one enabled by technology, then that would lead to greater customer loyalty, greater lifetime value. So having a really strong and clear message really helps to get that message across. Having the right target audience, so you've got a great message for the right target audience, then you don't waste your money. And we didn't have a big marketing budget to spend, and we did a lot through PR, through social, through LinkedIn advertising, through email. We didn't blast through a lot of money, but we were very, very targeted in our approach.
Really interesting to hear, and I have also read the book Play Bigger. I think that's an awesome book, and I actually had a webinar 2 years ago around category design. So yeah, definitely well done there. That's not an easy journey to do, but awesome to see how that played out so well for you. So exciting. Yeah, we'll move on here. From your vantage point, what future trends do you foresee in fintech marketing? Do you see any trends coming?
Yes. Well, get my crystal ball out here. AI obviously is going to affect what we do in marketing. This nirvana of right place at the right message at the right, in the right channel at the right time, that's going to be aided by marketing, but by AI. But again, you've still got to have the smart judgment as well, because bad personalization is worse than no personalization. So you've still got to exercise the judgment, but there are many places, particularly in content creation with your data, there's many use cases where AI will really help us in marketing. So we've got to be on top of that. There's this balance between privacy and personalization that I don't think will go away. How much are people willing to give you in order to have that personalized experience? So that's always going to be a delicate balance. I'm a very strong advocate of thought leadership. So don't ram products down people's throats. Give them content that helps make sure that you are where people are looking for information, or you have, as much you've got the right information at the right time. Monitor the signals. Don't leap in with offer of a sales meeting when people have downloaded one piece of content. I'm a huge fan of ungated content. It's like, no, don't make me fill out a form and have a salesperson call me just because I've shown some interest in your content. People want to consume probably 8 or 9 pieces of content before they're ready to have a conversation. So I think we'll get cleverer, we'll get even smarter with technology. We must listen to our insights. Everything that we do should be insight driven. And we'll probably have to collaborate even more than we do today with other areas of the business.
Great. That were very insightful, and I totally agree. So thanks for that. So thank you, Christine. That was awesome to hear. We have a few more questions, but we're a little bit running out of time here, so maybe we can see if we can answer them afterwards in some way. But if people want to connect with you or reach out, is it LinkedIn, or are you on X, or what's your area?
I am on, I nearly said Twitter then, X, but LinkedIn is my preferred platform. So you can find me, Dr. Christine Bailey. Please do put a personalized connection note and say that it's because of this conference that you'd like to connect.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Christine, and thank you for sharing your insights. And we wish you all the best now with the Moody's Analytics going forward here. And I'm sure we will hear more
Thank you
from
very
you in
much.
the future.
All right. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye. And that was our last session for today. So thank you so much, everybody. Just a short reminder that if you want to discuss growth teams for fintech companies, if you want to accelerate your growth, we're happy to discuss those things. So reach out and we have a session where we can discuss ideas. And Emma, we have this offering as well.
Exactly. We have our exclusive event offer today. So now is the last chance to claim the offer. So make sure to scan the code and get the offer, and you'll meet one of our consultants that will help you with your fintech company. And also, if you would like to dive into even more fintech content or other more general B2B topics, we have quite an extensive insights library on our website. So if you just scan the QR code, it will take you right to our page. We have our podcast with around 150 episodes now. We have blogs, webinars, and other upcoming events that will release the registration for very shortly. So stay tuned for more Bright Fishing content if you're interested. And with that said, I think it's time to round off, Jacob.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. That was awesome. I think we had almost as good as the Slush Conference FinTech sessions or the FinTech Day in London a few weeks ago. Almost, but or maybe as good as it. But that was awesome. We had so much fun. So thank you, everybody, for listening in, and catch you in a later event or so.
Definitely. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much.